Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to be looking at the top best 30 heavyweight boxers in the world. I am a huge boxing fan. If anybody knows anything about boxing at all, the heavyweight division is where it's at. Now there's a lot of boxers on the list. 30 boxers is quite a lot to get through, so let's just jump straight into this. Ranked number 30, Junior Fa. Now, Junior Fa has a perfect record of 19-0 with 10 big KOs. He is ranked number 6 with the WBO. He is from Papakura, New Zealand. I hope I pronounced that right. He is 30 years old with a reach of 80 inches and height of 6'5". Now, he has a perfect record, but he has nobody of note, nobody big of note on his record until next week. He is going to be facing Joseph Parker, the former heavyweight champion of the world, people. So if nobody's ever heard of Junior Fa or seen him fight, you will see him fight next week, people. Joseph Parker is an extremely good fighter and he's got to be on the top 10 of anybody's list. Hopefully Joseph Parker comes through, because obviously I want to see Joseph Parker get another shot at the heavyweight title, but Junior Fa is an up-and-comer. He has got 19-0. He's 19-0 with 10 knockouts. So we'll just have to see how that fight goes. So let's move on to number 29. Now, anybody on this list, before we carry on, has my respect. To break into the top 30 of the heavyweight division, you've got to have respect. Number 29 is Gerald Washington. Now, Gerald Washington has a record of 20-4 with 13 KOs. So he's got 20 wins, 4 losses. He is 38 years old, so he is getting on a bit. He is 6'6" with a reach of 82 inches. So he's a big lad, big heavyweight. Now, he is ranked 29 for a reason, people. He doesn't really have anybody of note on his record. And he does have 4 losses on his record. And he is getting up there in age, so big respect to anybody who breaks the top 30. I'm not disrespecting Gerald Washington, but there is some quality heavyweights in this list. So let's just move straight on to number 28, Frank Sanchez. So Frank Sanchez is 17-0 with 13 KOs. He comes from Guantanamo, Cuba. There is another really good Cuban fighter on the rankings. But this guy is an up-and-comer and a very big prospect. He is undefeated. Like I said, he is 28 years old. He is 6'4" and has a reach of 78 inches. So this is definitely a guy to watch. Now, I haven't seen this guy fight, but he's fairly young, good record, and he's from Cuba, and as people may or may not know, there is some very good Cuban heavyweight boxers. Right, number 27, we have Arislenp Mazumdar. Now, I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that right. I don't really know this guy. I've never heard of him, but just take a look at his record. He has 11 fights, 11 wins, and 11 knockouts. He's ranked number 24 with the WBC. He is from Canada, Montreal. And he is 31 years old, height is 6'5". Now, there's not a lot known about this guy. All we know is he's a prospect. He's middle-aged, he's 31 years old. He hasn't had too many fights. He's knocking everybody out. We'll just have to see how he does when he comes up against better opponents. And that's all I can really say. So let's move on to Carlos Takam. Now, this is the first very big name on the list. Now, Carlos Takam is one of them. He's one of them that has fought with the big boys. He's an extremely good fighter and he looks the part. Now, Carlos Takam has a record of 39 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, 28 big KOs. He's ranked number 15 with the WBC. Now, the big thing about Carlos Takam is his age. He is 39 years old, so he's in his later part of his career. He's probably only got 1 or 2 more fights, and I think he is on his decline. If anybody see his last fight, he did lose to Derek Chisora. He got knocked out. He was winning that fight though, and I was very surprised because it just looked like it was going to go 12 rounds of Takam punching Derek Chisora's head in, but out of nowhere he slowed down slightly and Chisora caught him, dropped him. Takam got back up, and that overhand right that Chisora landed, one of the best knockouts I've seen. We will talk more about Chisora because he will be on this list. But yeah, he also had a very, very good fight with Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight champion of the world. Obviously, he was a stand-in fighter because the other fighter, Anthony Joshua, was supposed to be fighting Big Baby Miller. Obviously, got banned because of drugs. But we're not going to talk about him. He's not on the list. He's a banned boxer. I do not want to give coverage to a banned fighter taking steroids and cheating in the game. Big respect to Carlos Takam. He looks the part. He is the part, people. It's just a shame he's getting on in age. He's rank 26 on our list and a very good fighter, and rightly so, he should be in the top 30. Right, next on the list we have Murat Gasiev. Now this guy is not a actual bona fide heavyweight. He's 6'3", age 27, reached 76 inches. Now he's young. He could make a very big noise in the heavyweight division, but this guy, he's famous for the Super Series, the Cruiserweight Super Series, where he took on Alexander Usyk in the finals. He gave a very good account of himself. I do believe he went the distance with Usyk. A very good fight, but as people may or may not know, Usyk is a very, very skillful fighter, and basically he just got outboxed a bit. But who knows? He could be okay at heavyweight division. We'll just have to see. He has a great record, 27-1, 20 knockouts. And hopefully he's big enough to fight the big boys at heavyweight. Next on the list, we have our first Brit of the lineup, and that is Hughie Fury. Hughie Fury is 6'6", 26 years old, so still very young, lot of time, a very big prospect. Now, Hughie Fury record is 25-3, so he does have 3 losses on his record, but don't let that trick you, people. Hughie Fury is a very good fighter. Now, he's learning, and for me, he's a great fighter, a very good counter-punch fighter. His 3 losses are against very good opponents, so he had a very good close fight with Joseph Parker, like I said, former heavyweight champion of the world. That could have went either way. He just didn't do enough for me, Hughie Fury, and that's why he lost. And obviously, he fought Kubrat Pulev, another former champion. Well, when I say former champion, he fought Klitschko, he fought Anthony Joshua in his last fight. A very good heavyweight. He's ranked up there, but Kubrat Pulev did take Hughie Fury to school. He gave him a bit of a boxing lesson. For me, Hughie Fury needs to work on a few things. His head movement being one of them, and just letting his shots go, because he sits back, he counter punches. He's very long, so he likes to use his jab and his right hand, but he doesn't fight in clusters or throw combos. He's just a one-punch machine. He needs to work on his movement and start throwing more punches. Hopefully, he gets up there, because every time he stepped up to fight a good heavyweight, he's lost. But he's still young, a lot of time for him. Very good fighter. He is the cousin of Tyson Fury, and there's big things for him in the future. Right, number 23 on the list. This guy got famous for fighting the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury. This guy's name is Otto Wallin. He has a record of 21-1 with 14 KOs. His only loss being to Tyson Fury. Now, this guy fought Tyson Fury. He cut open his eye, and he gave Tyson Fury one of his hardest fights of his professional boxing career. So, he is, does it say how old he is on here? It don't actually say how old he is on here for some reason. But anyway, yeah, he's a young fighter, very big. He's from Sweden. Very, very, very big prospect. And of what I see against Tyson Fury, gave himself a good account of him. That wasn't the best Tyson Fury, but he went 12 rounds with Tyson Fury. A close decision win for Fury. Definitely a guy you got to pay attention to, because who knows, this guy could be fighting for another title, and he could be Tyson Fury's boogeyman in the future. Right, next on the list, very, very big prospect, and future, well, they're saying future champion of the world. They were before the Juggernaut fight, Daniel Dubois. He has a record of 15-1 with 14 big KOs. He is ranked number 17 with the WBC. He is 22 years old. This guy is a baby, people, but he is a giant. He's 6'5", 78-inch reach. Now, he's a big guy, but he isn't the biggest on the list. But he's 22 years old, people. This guy is learning. He is tipped to become a future champion. Maybe his last fight against the juggernaut Joyce was a bit too early for him. For me, he's a bit too easy to hit, and we see that in the Joyce fight. Joyce was just able to hit him with solid jabs all night, and obviously he had to, he basically quit. And rightly so, that eye was looking bad, it was all smashed up, and he's young, he can come again. It's not like he's in his later years, and he thought, right, I've just got to carry on because it's going to ruin my career. It's not going to ruin his career. He's young. In 2 years' time, we're going to forget about this fight, people, and who knows, this could be the future heavyweight champion of the world once the big boys are gone, right? Next on the list, we have AJaba. This guy, they're saying, is the next Deontay Wilder. He even looks a bit like Deontay Wilder. He looks a bit more muscly than Deontay Wilder. Maybe that's what Deontay Wilder needed, a bit more strength in his last fight. This guy has a record of 14 wins, 11 big KOs. He's ranked 13 with the WBA. He's from Nigeria. He is 6'5", has a reach of 85 inches, a very big reach there, age 26, a very young guy. This guy here is definitely one to watch. An explosive heavyweight who is said to be like Wilder, but he's a younger Wilder. Maybe I would like to see this guy fight Wilder before Wilder gets too old and has got nothing left to give boxing, but this is definitely a guy to watch for the future, people. Right, next we have Kabal. He is 20-0 with 13 KOs, ranked number 9 with the WBA. He is 28 years old, 6'3", and he is an undefeated fighter. A very, very good fighter, people. Not too many notable wins, but a very big prospect. 20 wins, 13 KOs. There's not too much to say about him. He doesn't excite me too much, but he's a very good heavyweight, a very big prospect. We'll just have to see when he steps up to the plate, when he gets a big fight, how good he actually is. But a very, very big prospect. Right, number 19, Martin Boccoli. Martin Boccoli is 27 years old, a height of 6'6". He had a win against Sergey Kuzmin, very good tight fight. A decent fighter, a very big prospect, looked good in his last fight. Obviously, does have that one loss in his record, but can bounce back, still a young man. We'll just have to see how he does. From the Republic of Congo, let's move on. Next on the list, quite a famous fighter, ranked number 18, Derek Chisora. Now this guy, he deserves to be ranked 18, no higher. Maybe you could put him lower, he's on his decline, he is an old guy. But he always gives a good account of himself. Like, I know, don't let the 10 losses fool you. This guy can hit, and he does. Them losses are from good opponents, but he is in his later years. Let's see how old he is. He's 35 years old, has a reach of 74 inches. Not a very long reach, but this guy is just a powerhouse. Knockout merchant, if you like. Height of 6'1". He gave Alexander Usyk a very good fight in his last fight. He gave Dillian Whyte 2 close fights. He deserves to be where he is. He's sort of like a gatekeeper. If you want to test yourself, if you can get past Derek Chisora, then maybe it's the next step to fight one of the big boys in the heavyweight division. He isn't a big boy in the heavyweight division. He's just sort of under it. But he's a very entertaining fighter. And you've got to give respect to Derek Chisora, because he does fight anyone and everyone from Klitschko to Fury to Usyk. The only person he hasn't got on his record who he hasn't fought is Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Right, next on the list we have Kalnaki. Kalnaki is 29 years old, has a reach of 76 inches, height 6'3", a very big prospect. He did take a loss in his last fight. Who was it he lost against? I can't remember. Helenius, Robert Helenius, that's it. And this was a very big upset. I've seen Robert Helenius fight before. A big guy, tall, rangy, but just very boring and just seems to stall a lot of people. Kalnacki was the big favourite in that fight, and he got stopped, people. He got beat. Nobody was expecting it. He can still bounce back, still a fairly young man. When you look at him, you don't think, right, you look at this guy, overweight, he doesn't look the best, but I'm telling you, this guy can fight, definitely one to watch. Next on the list, we have a very big prospect. They're saying this is the next Klitschko, Filip Hergovich. He has 12 wins, 10 big KOs. He's the WBC International Heavyweight Champion. He is from Croatia. He's a big man, people. He's 28 years old, reach of 82 inches, and a height of 66. Just take a look at him. He looks like a reincarnation of Klitschko. Very big prospect. Excited to see him fight somebody of note very, very soon. He does need that step-up fight. Obviously, it is still early on in his career, but this guy here is tipped to be a future champion. Definitely one to watch. I can't wait to see him fight someone of note. I know Alan Babbage, the Savage, has been calling this guy out. I don't think Alan Babbage should fight this guy. I think he will just get his head jabbed in. For me, Alan Babbage is a good fighter. He is what he is. I can't really talk about him too much. Maybe he's on this, maybe he ain't. We'll come across him and we'll discuss about him if he is on this list. Right. Number 15, people, Charles Martin. Charles Martin has a record of 28-2 with 25 KOs. A very good heavyweight from the USA. Obviously, his biggest notable fight was against Anthony Joshua. He's 33 years old. He's knocking on a little bit, but still has time for another title shot. He's 6'5", reach of 80 inches. But like I said, when I haven't seen too much of Charles Martin, but I know he's a good heavyweight. But the fight I did see of him were obviously against Anthony Joshua. Me being English, I'm going to watch Anthony Joshua fight Charles Martin for the heavyweight championship of the world. And he got taken to school and knocked out within 2 rounds. But recently he's had some decent wins. And he is being lined up to fight Deontay Wilder in his next fight. Hopefully that happens. Hopefully that happens. That's just so we can see where Wilder is at, if he's on the decline, because in that last fight against Fury, he looked like he was on the decline. And obviously against the Cuban fighter, who's the Cuban fighter called again? King Kong. When he fought King Kong, he was losing every round and then obviously knocked him out. But hopefully Prince Charles Martin fights Wilder, and then we get to see if Martin gets another shot at that title or whether Wilder is back for a rematch against Fury or Joshua once they eventually fight. Anyway, let's move on. Plenty more boxers on the list. Number 14, Kubrat Pulev. Now, he fought at the end of 2020 against Anthony Joshua. He has a record of 28 wins, 2 losses, 14 KOs. A fairly old fighter. He's 39 years old, reach of 80 inches, height of 6'4". Now, he's a very good heavyweight. He put a good performance in against Anthony Joshua. Boxing skill-wise, he's up there. Him and Anthony Joshua had a very good boxing match. The difference was age. He could not hurt Anthony Joshua. He just didn't have the power. When Joshua hurt him, he hurt him because he's an older guy. And he just, for me, he just doesn't have that power. And obviously, he's getting up there in age. And he's been very inactive, but a very good heavyweight, and he does deserve to be where he is. Maybe he's got 1 or 2 more fights here in the bag, but for me, he should retire soon, 100%. He's on the decline. Right, number 13, Tony Yoka. He has a record of 9-0, not many fights, 7 KOs, ranked number 8 with the IBF. A very big prospect. So he's going to be fighting Hammer. Has he already fought Hammer? I'm not too sure. He is 28 years old. He has a reach of 82 inches, height of 6'7". A very, very big prospect. I haven't seen too much of him because obviously he hasn't had many fights. But what a lot of people were saying is this guy is a very quick boxer, and he knocks people out quick, a very quick fighter. We'll have to see how he does, because obviously, like I say, he's a prospect, still fairly young, he's up and coming. I haven't seen him fight anybody too great, but it'd be interesting to see him fight somebody of a note and see how he does. Right,
Next on the list, we have Robert Helenius. Now, I can understand why he's ranked number 12 at the minute. He's 30-3 with 19 KOs, WBA gold heavyweight champion. He's from Finland. I've seen this guy fight a few times, and for me, he isn't impressive, but he did have that really good win. And obviously, you're only as good as your last fight, and he knocked out Kalnacki in his last fight. A great knockout. He's a big guy, 6'6", reach of 79 inches, getting up there in age, 35. Who knows? He could go the way. He could work on his boxing and just be sort of like Klitschko. But for me, he doesn't do enough, and he just sits back and he sort of tries to counter punch, and he makes fights boring. But I'm not hating on the guy. Got a good record, lots of wins there. Late in his career, who knows? He may go on and challenge for the title in the future. In a year or two. I very much doubt it, but he's got a chance. He's up there with the rankings. Right, next on the list, big juggernaut Joyce. Now, what a surprise it was in his last fight. So, obviously, he fought Daniel Dubois. Now, some people were saying Dubois is the slight favourite. Other people were saying it is too early for Dubois to fight this guy. And they were right, people. Now, it was an exciting fight. And I had that fight dead even. Now, what the big turning point in the fight was Joyce's chin, right? The early rounds, Dubois was hitting Joyce clean on the chin, and it was having no effect. Joyce, the way he fights, he just keeps coming slowly but surely, and he was just hitting Daniel Dubois with stiff jabs, people. Daniel Dubois' eye closed, and like I said, he quit. Joyce is a very good heavyweight, a big solid heavyweight, and I do not see anybody knocking this guy out. Now, I think the way to beat Joyce is you're just going to have to outbox him. He's got such an interesting fight coming up with Alexander Usyk. I can't wait for that fight because, like I say, Usyk is a very good boxer, and he could outbox Joyce. Don't get me wrong, but is Usyk big enough at a heavyweight to worry Joyce? I think Joyce could just start walking through him, and who knows, if he catches Usyk, he could put him out. If he just keeps hitting him with that solid jab, he's got a very good jab, very underrated. Definitely deserves his ranking. He hasn't had too many fights. He is later on in his career, he's 35 years old, so he has got to get a move on. But yeah, he will be fighting Alexander Usyk, and it could be for, I think it is the WBO title, if Anthony Joshua drops his title to fight Tyson Fury. Definitely one to watch. Right, next on the list, people, we are now breaking into the top 10. The best heavyweight boxers in the world. Number 10, Alexander Usyk. Now, this guy is 18-0 with 13 KOs. He's ranked number 1 with a WBO. So, like I said, he will be fighting Joyce in his next fight. Last fight he fought was Derek Chisora. And I'll be honest with you, people, he didn't look that great. Derek Chisora gave him a very good fight, and Derek Chisora's an old man, but Derek Chisora is a true heavyweight. And for me, Usyk didn't look that great, but obviously at cruiserweight, you have to give Usyk respect. At cruiserweight, there was no one better than Usyk. Very dominant. His boxing skill is second to none. On this list, you could probably have him as the number 1 best boxer skill-wise. It's between him and Tyson Fury for me. I'm probably going to put Tyson Fury skill-wise above him. I just love Tyson Fury. He's my favourite heavyweight. But this guy is a very good boxer. But does he carry that power and that size at heavyweight? We will see when he fights Joyce. That is a great fight. And if he can get past Joyce, he sets himself up for a title shot against Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. And what a great matchup that's going to be. A very good boxer. Please go and watch this fight if you've never heard of him. I'm sure everybody's heard of Alexander Usyk. Right, number 9 on the list is Luis Ortiz. King Kong, I did mention him earlier. This guy has a record of 32-2 with 27 KOs. He's WBC, WBA, number 3 heavyweight contender from Miami, Florida. This guy is getting up there in age, people. He's 41 years old and he just keeps on fighting. He has a height of 6'4", reach of 78. And King Kong by name, King Kong by nature. He's a very good boxer, but he is getting old. Does he deserve to be up there on the list? I don't know, because he's fought Wilder twice and lost against Wilder twice. His other fights, he hasn't got no big wins notable. I don't think he deserves to be number 8 on the list, but he is a very good boxer, and obviously it's heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen, but for me, this guy, if he can't do anything special in his next fight, he should retire. Let's move on. So I do disagree with this list. I do believe Luis Ortiz should be lower down. Next on the list, somebody who deserves this position, Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker is 27-2 with 21 KOs. He's number 3 with the WBO from New Zealand. He is 27 years old, reach of 76, height 6'4". Now this guy is a great fighter. He was heavyweight champion of the world at one point. He did fight Andy Ruiz, a very close fight. Got through that, so he has a good win on his record there. He has beat Hughie Fury. He did lose to Anthony Joshua, and he lost I think it was a split decision against Dillian Whyte. For me, the only thing Joseph Parker is lacking is a bit of heart. He's got all the skill in the world. He's got the power. He's got the speed. This guy can go all the way, people. I'm telling you, this is a very good heavyweight. But for me, he seems to lack that heart. When I see him fight Anthony Joshua, and he just sort of like, not give up. It went 12 rounds, and it was a bit of a boring fight. But if he went for it a bit more, he could have taken that fight, people. And he's definitely one to watch for the future. If he gets hungry and he's up for the fight, this guy can beat anybody on his day. A very good fight, and obviously he's got he's going to be fighting an up-and-comer fighter, Junior Farr, in his next fight, and then obviously he's probably going to want a shot at that title after that fight. Anyway, let's move on the list. Dillian Whyte, one of my favourite British heavyweights. Dillian Whyte, 27-2 with 18 KOs, ranked number 6 for the WBC. He was higher in the rankings. He was number 1. This guy has fought everyone and will fight anyone. His last fight was distressing to watch. He got knocked out by Povetkin. Obviously, he's got his rematch on the 6th of March, and I cannot wait for that. Hopefully, he gets his revenge. He should get his revenge. Povetkin is on the decline, and he dropped Povetkin twice in that fight, but got caught with an absolute peach of an uppercut. Probably the best knockout I've seen in years. And like I say, it's heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen. His other loss was obviously to Anthony Joshua early on in his career. A very good fighter. Will fight anybody, and hopefully we get to see him fight for the title someday. He deserves his shot. He was number 1 for 2 to 3 years, people. Let's move on for him. Hopefully he wins his fight against Povetkin and puts himself back in that number 1 spot. Right, number 6 on the list is an American, Michael Hunter, 19-1-1, 13 KOs. He's ranked number 4 with the IBF from Las Vegas, USA. He is 30 years old, a reach of 79 and a height 6'2". Now this guy, very, very good boxer. I have seen him fight before. Very quick, very sharp. Lacks a little bit of size and power, but a very good boxer. And he can do stuff at heavyweight. A good matchup for me. I would like to see him fight Usyk again. I think he did fight Usyk at cruiserweight, but I would love to see him fight Usyk at heavyweight to see who's transitioned the best. He does deserve his spot. He's a very good fighter, and I was impressed with his fights, but he does lack size. Right, number 5 on the list. Andy Ruiz, the Destroyer, with a record of 33-2, WBC, WBA, ranked number 4 in the world from USA. This guy is the former heavyweight champion, the only guy to defeat Anthony Joshua. And all I can say with this guy is, what a shame. He come in such terrible shape for that second fight. Anthony Joshua slimmed right down. He still has time. He's 30 years old. His height is 6'2", reach 74 inches. You see this guy and you think, oh, he's out of shape. This guy's no good. Such quick hands. And he puts them combos together. He can be a very devastating force in the heavyweight division. He lacks discipline, and when I say that, he doesn't train as hard as he should. We all see that in the second fight. He come in way too heavy. If this guy came in the way he came in the first fight, it would have been a much more interesting fight, because Anthony Joshua did come in a lot better condition and had his tactics just to hit and move. I would like to see this guy fight someone like Deontay Wilder. That would be such a great fight. Will his combos knock Wilder out? He comes forward, or will Wilder knock him out? Definitely one to watch. He's up there. He can give anybody a good fight. He gave Joseph Parker a good fight. He did have a split decision loss. That is his only other loss on the record. A very good heavyweight, and I can't wait to see this guy fight again. Right, number 4 on the list. Now, I don't think the guy should be number 4 on the list, but because of his last win, that knockout is why he's at number 4 on the list. Alexander Povetkin, a very, very good fighter. I'm not going to lie. 36-2, won 25 KOs, WBC interim heavyweight champion. In his last fight, he knocked out Dylan White with one of the best punches I ever see. But this guy is ancient, people. He's 41 years old, height of 6'2", reach of 75. A very good boxer. He is on a decline, but with perfect position. That punch he landed on White was perfectly timed. It was one of the best punches I've ever seen. You never know. He has fought for the title before. A few times he's fought Klitschko. He's fought Anthony Joshua. Gave a decent account of himself both times. Very good fighter, but he's on the decline, people. Does he deserve to be number 4? Well, he did beat the number 1 ranked heavyweight. So, yeah. But with this rematch, I don't see him winning. I see him just getting beat up and stopped. He's going to retire after this next fight against White. He's got to, not unless he pulls out another punch-perfect punch. Anyway, let's move on. Now we're getting up there, people. Now we're getting to the best in the world. Number 3 on the list, Deontay Wilder. Just check out that record for starters. 42 wins, 41 KOs, 1 draw, 1 loss. WBC number 1 heavyweight contender from USA. He is 6'7", very tall, very rangy, has a reach of 83, knocking on a little bit on age, 34, but he still has time to regain that title. This guy is such a great, great fighter. Probably one of the best knockout punches we've seen in the heavyweight division, period. Now, what he lacks. Now, what he has in punch power, he lacks in boxing skill. We all know the blueprint now. We watched the last fight when he fought Tyson Fury, and you just got to come forward, have a good boxing game, and just play it on Wilder. He can't box on the back foot, people. He's knocking on there in age, and if you can get into this guy's head, he looked very worried in that second fight. I'm not going to lie, he looked worried, he looked scared, and he didn't know how to deal with people going forward. Now, his whole career, he's had people scared of him, going backwards. As soon as he has the Gypsy King, 6'9", coming forwards, he's thinking, what is he doing? Why is he coming forwards? Why is he pressing me? He froze. He did not know what to do. He could not box his way out of it. He has no boxing skill. He just relies on those big, wild punches. But don't get me wrong, they get him through the fights, people. He's knocked out opponent after opponent. It's a shame what he said, blaming things on his costume being too heavy, blaming Mark Breland, saying his water was poisoned. It's a shame. Why couldn't he just keep his mouth shut and come again? He had time to come again. He should have fought Fury again. What was the worst that was going to happen? He was just going to lose. He would have. We was all thinking he's just going to lose the third fight anyway. He would have got a massive payday, and yeah, he may have lost, but he's still young enough where if he got a couple of good notable wins, he could have maybe fought Anthony Joshua or another big heavyweight, someone like that. And who knows, because obviously styles make fights, and he's still got a good couple of fights in his locker. Let's just see what happens. It's just a shame what happened. He should have kept his mouth shut, and he should have fought Fury for that third time. Let's just move on. Number 2, people. Arguably, number one, a lot of people, this is the big argument, Anthony Joshua, with a record of 24 wins and 1 loss, 22 KOs on his record. He is the WBA, IBF, WBO heavyweight champion of the world from Watford, England. He is 31 years old, so he's in the midpoint of his career. Still got loads of fights. Height 6'6", reach 82, a proper heavyweight. Built like an Adonis, a very, very, very good heavyweight. And we all want to see who the number one in the division is. He does have that loss on his record. He did lose to Andy Ruiz in their first fight. That is the only reason why he's probably number 2 on this list. And we have number 1, obviously, Tyson Fury. I cannot wait for this guy to fight Tyson Fury. In my opinion, he is the second best heavyweight on the planet. I reckon he'll beat Wilder. I reckon he'll beat Usyk. But he will not beat the Gypsy King. For me, a very good boxer, a lot of power, but he's vulnerable. He's vulnerable, people. We've seen it. We see White wobbling when he fought him. We've seen people trouble him, like when he fought Carlos Takam. Carlos Takam busted his nose and he kept dabbing his nose. Klitschko dropped him. This guy is vulnerable. He's a very good heavyweight. Big, young, strong, fast. But I'm telling you now, if you hit this guy on the chin, you can stop him. You can stop him, people. And this is why he's number 2 on the list. Some people are going to get the ump with me and say I'm hating on Anthony Joshua. Like I just said, I think he's number 2 in the world. But he's vulnerable. If you hit this guy on the chin and you scare him, you can beat him. He's beatable, people. Right. Number 1 on the list, the Gypsy King. Just check out the picture. Tyson Fury with a record of 30-0 with 1 draw, 21 KOs. The WB Lineal Ring Magazine Heavyweight Champion of the World from Manchester, England. Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. He is 32 years old, so he's still got a few more fights, people, to go. He's got a reach of 85 inches, very, very long arms. Height of 6'9", one of the biggest, he's the biggest guy in this list of heavyweights. He absolutely demolished Deontay Wilder in his last fight. This guy, boxing skill is second to none, and being 6'9" and being able to, the way he boxes, being able to box like that and move like that, I don't see this guy getting defeated. What may defeat this guy is if he boxes for too long. So once he fights Anthony Joshua, I think he's going to come through and he's going to out. I think that fight's going to go 12 rounds, people. Don't get me wrong. Anthony Joshua is a very good fighter. I think it's going to go 12 rounds and Fury's going to win on points. But who knows? We see him get dropped heavy by Wilder in that first fight. He got up and he won the round, people. This guy's got a heart of a lion and just probably one of my favourite all-time boxers. Character, he's got character, size, reach, speed. He does lack a little bit in power, but what he makes up in boxing skill, he's second to none, people. This is probably one of the best boxers out there. And if he beats Anthony Joshua, pound for pound, this guy's going to be up there, especially if he beats Anthony Joshua. He's got a perfect record. That draw he's got on his record shouldn't be there. That first fight against Deontay Wilder, obviously he was coming off from a 3-year layoff. He was 9 stone overweight. And he fought him after his 3rd fight back. And we all know he won that fight, people. It went 12 rounds. And the only rounds Wilder won were the rounds where he knocked him down. And if you work that out, that's 2 10-8 rounds. And the rest of the rounds are 10-9. And he come back, fought Wilder a second time, near his best. Was he at his best? Maybe, maybe not. But he fought Wilder that second time and he demolished him. He took him to school, he gave him a boxing lesson and he knocked him out and stopped him, people. And Deontay Wilder should be thanking him up really, because he was taking punishment and Fury really beat him up. Wilder's lucky not to have a bleed in the brain. He was taking a lot of punishment, big knockdown, and this guy here is definitely number 1 in the division. And I cannot wait for him to fight Anthony Joshua and prove that he is the best heavyweight on the planet. Anyway, people, that was the top 30 heavyweights of 2021, February the 14th. If you did enjoy this, please remember to like and subscribe for more content.